Okay guys, as you can see, we're down at West Tech. There's our, got some noise going off in the background. That's the twin supercharged 6-liter that we're going to be running. I'm also going to be doing a 4.8 with the sloppy stage 2 cam test with the VS Racing turbo, and I got a big block. I got a lot of stuff going on, but what I want to do is I want to take you on a little adventure. I did some window shopping today over at the junkyard, so I want to go over some of the stuff that I found, because I found some real cool stuff, because I also want to talk to you guys about things that I have coming up, and I want to get your opinion on some stuff. But let's go over some of the wrecking yard stuff first. We'll take a look at some of the stuff, and I'll show you some of the photos we got, because I found some cool stuff. And in the bold tradition of the other guys, I found a lot of other guys' material over there at the wrecking yard. So I want to talk to you guys about that and get your opinion. But the first one was a 1971 Cadillac DeVille, and that thing had a 472 in it, which was awesome. That would be a good motor to take out and see if I could bring it over here and find out what kind of power it made, and like everything else, I had boost to it. I also found a 1978 Ford that had either a 351M or a 400, and yes, I know you don't call them 400Ms, but everybody knows them as 400M, so if I call it a 400M, the M police don't need to come get me. Also cool, I saw a cool Chrysler Slant 6, which I've always wanted to do, if for no other reason than if you take a look at this TorqueStorm supercharger. The guys from TorqueStorm have a supercharger kit for a Slant 6, so that's reason enough to build a Slant 6, because that's super cool anyways, and I've never done one, so it's awesome. Take a look at this. I found a 1941 Plymouth Deluxe that had a 218-inch inline 6-cylinder that made a whopping 97 horsepower. That would definitely be an other guy's thing. I've never even seen one of those, but it was over at the yard. So a lot of guys have asked me to do the Barra engine, and I found, I think what is the closest equivalent there was a 4200 Vortec. It's the inline 6-cylinder 4.2 liter. So let me know if you guys think that that's cool and that's something I should do. Obviously there are a lot of LS motors. I found a ton of them. Every one of them was either a 5.3 or a 4.8. They all had 862 or 706 heads on them, which were pretty cool. Other motors I found a Vortec 350, and there's a lot of those over there, and that's kind of the one that I want to do a big bang with. Obviously we're not going to use those cast iron Vortec heads. We'll put something better on it, but we'll take that motor apart and see how much these earlier 350s can take in terms of power before hurting something in the bottom end, the crank rods or pistons. I found a lot of, I also saw a 350 Target motor there, which is not unusual. You find some of those because guys will replace the factory motor with that cheap Target motor. It's a good start for a buildup. I've done a lot of those and they work pretty well. I did find a couple of Dodges, like this 5.9 liter with the big beer keg intake on it, which is super cool. I do want to get one of those. A lot of guys have been saying, hey, you got to do more Dodge stuff. And if we take a walk over here, I could show you. I do have a Dodge, and this is going up on the dyno either today or tomorrow. I'm going to have Brule help me, because he's kind of a Dodge guy too. He talks about big block Chevys a lot, but he really likes Dodges too. So we got this 440. Not like Dulcich is, not like the 383 is the best motor in the world. He's not like that, but he did have some cool Dodge cars back in the day, which is awesome. So we got the 5.9 liter. I want to get one of the 360s, one of the Magnum motors with the big beer keg intake on it, because I want to see how well that thing responds to boost. And then we obviously want to change it. We'll try some traditional intake manifolds and stuff, but got to do some Dodge stuff because we've been doing a lot of Chevy and Ford stuff, so we got to include those guys too, give the Dodge guys some love. I did see a couple of stickers. Guys had mentioned that I need to do the Triton V10, so I found a V8 and a V10 sticker. Unfortunately, neither one of those had the motors in them. I was kind of curious to see the V10, but it wasn't there. We have some, if you check out one of the things I like to look at when I go to the wrecking yard is take a look at a couple of these intake manifolds. The first one is a Ford, and you can see it's got this actuator on the back of it, and Ford's pretty cool about doing this stuff. They have these actuators for a lot of applications where they run these Emmerich, we call them Emmerich plates, and what they do is it's a little plate that stops most of the flow in the intake manifold to improve torque production, and then they open that up when they want maximum flow. They also use that kind of actuator. They did it on the old 2-valve truck motors, where they had a divider in between the plenum, and they would actuate it at a certain RPM and change the plenum volume, and it has a nice little bump in torque, which is pretty cool. I like those activated intake manifolds where you can change the runner length or change the plenum volume or those Emmerich plates. All that stuff is super cool because it just makes the intake a lot more efficient. The other intake that I saw that was cool, take a look at this. if you walked by this and you saw this on the ground, which I did, I knew what it was because I'd seen it before, but if you take a look at this, you'd go, oh, that looks like a header for a 4-cylinder. But it's actually a tubular intake manifold that they made. It looks an awful lot like a header. I think they could have maybe done a better job like with the design on it, but it's still pretty cool. I like the way that it looks. So we also found that, but take a look. I just showed you the Dodge 440 that I borrowed from Freiburger and Dulcich that we're going to run, and I'm going to put a turbo on it, as I do on everything. But I also found another one. This is the first one I found over in the wrecking yard. It was a Dodge 440. It's in a little motorhome, so that might be a good one for me to grab so I have, and I can not have to borrow motors from people. But, you know, they're good guys. I also saw a lot of big block Chevys over there. There were a couple of them, both early ones and late. And here's one with the plenum removed off of the Gen 6 motor, so you can kind of see down inside of the long runner manifold. The factory stuff is designed for, you know, high or for low RPM, so it has really long runners, and they work really good. We usually remove those and put a carbureted manifold on it, which we're going to do, which we did on this motor right here. This is the Big Bang big block Chevy. It now has Dart aluminum heads and a single plane on it, and a Holley throttle body, which we're going to run boost through, which will be pretty cool. But I did find a unicorn over there in the wrecking yard, which was cool. It's the first one I've ever seen, and that is the, I think it's an L21 454. So it was a Gen 6 deal, but it was only in the like top kicks and the commercial stuff. So it's a 454, but unlike the normal Gen 6, like the one that I just showed you, it has forged rod, or it's supposed to have forged pistons and forged cranks is what they listed at. So factory forged stuff, and it has the same heads and everything on it, but it also has coil packs like the LS. So it's kind of it looks like a transition kind of between the 7.4 and then the later version, the Gen 7 8.1 liter. But that's cool, and that would be a really good one to get to do the Big Bang with, because if it's got factory forged stuff, it should be able to hold up. Although I don't have any data, and if you guys have any, let me know. If you have any data about the connecting rods on that motor, the connecting rods are usually the weak link and usually the thing that goes if we manage to keep the head gasket sealed on this big block with a lot of boost. But so I don't know that one will do any better, because I don't know if the piston will break, but usually the rod does. Who knows? But that would be a good one to have to do a Big Bang with. So we also found a lot of NA 3800s, because while I was over there, I was looking for an L67, which, as you can see, I did find one. We found the NA stuff, and I found a couple of L67 3800 Series 2, the V6 motors, which I definitely want to do a Big Bang with one of those, because that would be really cool. I want to find out how much power they can stand, and we've got lots of turbos for those, and then they look pretty good. I also found this 4.6 liter. That's 4-valve 4.6 liter. It was an early B-headed one. It's got the funky intake manifold on. It looks like a bundle. I call it a bundle of snakes intake, and that works. You know, that works pretty cool. But that would be a good little one to have. Good little swap motor for a Fox or something. And speaking of Foxes, take a look at this 5-liter. And if you are a 5-liter fan, you know that hey, that intake manifold is on backwards. But it's actually not on this application. It's a Lincoln application, and this one is actually a Lincoln Town Car limousine. So if you're looking for a 5-liter for your Mustang, don't just look in the Mustang section. There's obviously other ones out there, and I found a couple of them. There were actually 2 limousines there, which was pretty cool. When I'm walking around, I also like to look at cool stuff. So take a look at this. There's no other exhaust manifold in the world, I don't think, that screams put a turbo on me more than this, like the Z-Tech Focus. I wrote a book on Focus stuff, so I'm pretty familiar with that exhaust manifold. But it is basically just begging for somebody to put a turbo on it. So every time I walk by those, I'm like, man, that thing needs to have a turbo on it. Of course, obviously, I went over into the import section and looked around there, because there's lots of cool stuff that I like over there. Naturally, lots of D-Series Honda stuff, even a ultra-low emissions vehicle Honda deal over there. But probably the coolest thing I saw was over by when I was leaving the deal, is this super cool Detroit diesel with the Roots blower mounted on the side of it. I mean, nobody else is paying attention to stuff like that, but I'm over there, oh my God, this is like the coolest thing ever. I got to look at this. I got to touch it. I want to spin the blower around. And now I want to add a turbo to that, because, you know, if you've got a supercharged diesel, you definitely want to have a turbo on that as well. So lots of cool stuff over in the wrecking yard, but the thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is I wanted to get your opinion. I've got a lot of guys that have asked me about helping out with making donations to help me buy some of this stuff, because the problem with going over and to the wrecking yard is me seeing all of these things that I want to get is obviously you know, time is one thing, but really it's the money. It costs a lot to go over and buy these motors, even though the wrecking yard motors are pretty cheap, but to get them up on the dyno and test them and make sure everybody gets taken care of, you know, it takes a lot, and that's a lot of what holds me back from getting a lot of these things done. I want to go get an inline Ford, you know, and put it up on the dyno and put a turbo on it and stuff. And same thing with the Slant 6 and the L67 and all that stuff. And so a lot of guys have offered to help, so I wanted to find out what you guys thought. There are basically three options. One, I can try to get a sponsor to take care of some of these costs, and that's a possibility, to have a sponsor on the show. The other way to do it is to do a GoFundMe page, and I've never done anything like that, so let me know if you guys think that that's a possibility. And the final option really is to do a Patreon account, which I'm looking into that, and I want to know what you guys thought about that, because the cool thing about that is I have a lot of stuff that I could add to that guys that have these accounts could get that everybody else doesn't. There's a lot of obviously outtakes and stuff where I make mistakes and kick myself and cuss and yell and scream and light myself on fire. So there's a lot of good stuff. Obviously, you guys would get to, guys that had that account, you guys would get to see the videos before everybody else, but you would also get to see other videos that nobody else gets to see. I would do specialized stuff just for you guys, and that would be cool. We have the other thing that would be cool for the Patreon account, guys, and then there might be different levels, but obviously these manufacturers supply a lot of parts, and I've got a ton of stuff just laying around that I would really kind of like to get rid of. So it'd be a good opportunity for me to do giveaways just for the guys that have the Patreon accounts, and you guys could win, you know, camshafts and intake manifolds or nitrous kits or whatever it is I have that I could give away. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think you'd be interested in that, and which one of those options might work the best, or none of them. Either way, you know, it'll just be a slower process, me getting these things all up on the dyno, because I want to make sure the guys at West Tech get taken care of, and everybody else does too. It's just time consuming, and it costs money. I go over to the wrecking yard, I walk down the aisle, and I want every one of the motors. They're like puppies to me. I want to bring them all home, but sometimes you can't do that. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to keep watching the channel, supporting. Thanks for all the love. I'm going to sign off here, but let me know what you think. Make comments. Let me know what you think about the different ways we could try to take care of this. Let me know about the Patreon stuff, maybe GoFundMe or getting a sponsor. Let me know what you think. Thanks, guys.